Harry says they wanted to step back, not step down.
Why did you leave?
Lack of support and lack of understanding.
Harry and Meghan's recent decision to disassociate from the Windsor family revealed a shocking, decades-long secret. Harry has a secret sister who had been meticulously hidden from everyone. This revelation added to the public criticism and constant media coverage of the royal family. In light of the love triangle that nearly brought the whole royal family crashing down, this film will delve into the reasons behind the constant secrecy surrounding Prince Harry's sister. Learn the ins and outs of royal history and the people that ignited the issue before delving into the amazing Laura Lopes narrative. The House of Windsor, another name for the British royal family that we'll be discussing today, was established in 1917. Because of the increasing anti-German feeling in Europe during the First World War, the family changed their name from the German Saxe-Coburg-Gotha after the war ended. King George V, the first Windsor monarch, was one of Queen Victoria's 20 grandchildren. He had no expectation of becoming king, being third in line of succession. Today's king, Charles III, is his great-grandson. After his brother Prince Albert Victor passed away in 1910, nevertheless, his intentions shifted. George became king in 1910 following his death. Prior to his death in 1936, King George V held the titles of both King of England and Emperor of India. Our modern-day royal family is descended directly from the first King George V. The great-grandmother of King Charles was Queen Mary. An exciting turn of events occurred when Mary, who was born into royalty, was first engaged to Prince Albert Victor, eldest son of King Edward VII. However, after Albert Victor's death, Mary consented to marry his brother, the future King George V. They were married in 1893 and had 6 children. 2 of their offspring would go on to become reigning monarchs. Edward, the eldest son of George V and Queen Mary, became King Edward VIII upon his father's death in 1936. He plunged the nation into chaos within a short time after that. He made his proposal to American divorcee Wallis Simpson. Since Edward was both the monarch and the interim head of the Church of England, the annulment of her marriage became a contentious issue for him. Remarrying when one's ex-spouse is still living was strictly forbidden by church law during that period. As a result, the government took a stand against the union. Edward abdicated in December 1936 at a crossroads. His younger brother Albert became King George VI and father to Queen Elizabeth II after Edward's death. Edward's reign, which lasted just 326 days, was one of the shortest in British history. He wed Simpson in 1937 and was subsequently made Duke of Windsor. One of the first signs of things to come for the House of Windsor is this early example of family sacrifice for the purpose of maintaining appearances and traditions. After Edward abdicated in 1936, Albert became King George VI and married Lady Elizabeth Bowd-Lyon. They had 2 daughters, Princess Margaret and the future Queen Elizabeth II. Prince George oversaw the finalization of the British Empire's dissolution and the formation of the British Commonwealth, becoming the first head of the Commonwealth and the last Emperor of India during his reign. After George passed away in 1952 at the age of 56, his daughter became his heir. After her father, George VI, became king in 1936, her mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who was born in 1926, became the presumed successor to the throne. Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark became her engaged in 1947. Surprisingly, Elizabeth's first encounter with Philip occurred at the tender age of 13. Edward, Andrew, Charles, and Anne were their 4 children from their 1947 marriage. Elizabeth became the longest-reigning and longest-living queen in British history after George VI's death in 1952. When she passed away in 2022 after 70 years in power, she left an unparalleled legacy. Her son Charles became king in 2022 after a turbulent reign marked by scandal, rumors, and tragedy. The present British king, King Charles III, is both the head of the Commonwealth and the custodian of several scandals and secrets. Charles, born to Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip in 1948, was the firstborn. Charles was the first member of the British royal family to have a bachelor's degree. He attended Cambridge University, Cheam, and Gordonstoun, among others. He also served in the Royal Air Force and Navy. Among Charles's numerous accomplishments as the first royal, there was his participation in a love triangle that would tarnish his children's, and his late wife's reputations. On July 1, 1961, in the Norfolk area, Diana Frances Spencer came into this world. Frances Spencer, Viscountess Althorp, and John Spencer, Viscount Althorp, were her parents. She had 3 siblings. Park House on Sandringham Estate was rented by Frances and John Spencer from Queen Elizabeth II, whom Diana had called Aunt Lilibet ever since she was a little girl. Among her many beloved pets as a kid were gerbils, hamsters, a pony, and a white guinea pig called Peanuts, who took home top honors in the neighborhood pet show. Frances Spencer's 1967 affair with a married businessman led to John and Frances's divorce. As a result, Lady Diana was enrolled at many boarding schools around Europe. Diana went back to England to be an au pair for a couple from the United States when she was 16 years old. Diana met Charles when she was just 16 years old. Charles, then 29 years old, was seeing Sarah Spencer, her sister, in November 1977. Diana enthusiastically informed her classmates about the event after the two had gotten to know one another. A large dance ensued after supper because he enjoyed it when Diana made a lot of noise, Diana added. While Diana was invited to a Buckingham Palace dance in November 1978, her connections with Charles would diminish in the 2 years that followed. Charles started to see Diana as a serious love possibility in 1980, while they were guests at a rural weekend. After the prince asked Diana to spend a weekend sailing on the royal yacht Britannia, their romance took off. According to reports, the Queen and other important members of the royal family welcomed her warmly when she arrived at Balmoral Castle to see them. The press went into a frenzy when paparazzi captured Diana in Balmoral. For the benefit of Diana's reputation, Prince Philip penned a letter to Charles in January 1981, encouraging him to either propose to her or quit their relationship. This appeared to Charles like a directive. Charles asked Diana to be his wife at Windsor Castle on February 6, 1981. She consented without hesitation, which surprised him because he thought she would think about the arrangement for a while. 18 days later, the pair made the engagement announcement public, along with their now famous conversation exchange. When the reporter wanted to know if they were romantically involved, Diana said, "Of course," and Charles shot back, "Whatever in love means." Before her wedding, Diana moved out of her parents' house and into Buckingham Place. Biographers have described her existence as incredibly lonely. She broke several records, including becoming the first English woman to marry the first in line for the throne in more than 300 years, and the only royal bride to have done a paying job before becoming a member of the royal family. This helped cement Diana's position as an approachable, personable figure whom the British people could relate to. She was no longer a princess, but she had once been a regular girl. In doing so, Diana was officially unveiled as the People's Princess, a title that would eventually inspire her altruistic deeds and revolt against the monarchy. Princess Diana became the wife of Prince Charles on July 29, 1981, at the tender age of 21. With over 600,000 onlookers and 750 million viewers around the globe, the broadcast ceremony was held in St. Paul's Cathedral. While making her usual vows, Diana inadvertently switched the sequence of the groom's names and left out the phrase "obey," which caused her to face widespread criticism. Diana provided a new perspective on royalty, which many people enjoyed, and her genuineness was contagious. Although the ceremony seemed to be in a celebratory mood, there was tension between the two groups. The night prior to the wedding, Diana supposedly found a bracelet that Charles had hidden. A reference to Charles's nickname for Camilla Parker Bowles, Girl Friday, was made by engraving the letters G and F onto the bracelet. Reportedly, Charles sobbed over Camilla because she had an affair with the heir when she was married to her first husband, and had dated him before. One of the most divisive and notorious characters in the narrative, Camilla played a key role in keeping Lauren Lopes hidden from the public. Diana, who was already emotionally isolated due to her struggles with bulimia and her fiancé's adultery, was even more so when Charles sobbed. In October of 1981, they made their public debut as a married couple. When Diana and Charles traveled to Wales, the onlookers were captivated solely by the princess. "We are interested in Diana." No one paid any attention to Charles as the crowd yelled. The word Diana-mania entered the general lexicon as a result of this reoccurring motif in Diana's life. In contrast to the widespread stigmatization of AIDS patients in the 1980s, Diana publicly spoke up for those living with the disease. Notably, she became the first British royal to surprisingly have personal contact with an AIDS sufferer in 1987, and she was not hesitant to doing so. Diana opines, "HIV does not make people dangerous to know. You can shake their hands and give them an embrace. Heaven knows they need it. What's more, you can share their homes, their workplaces, and their playgrounds and toys." Diana's strong moral convictions caused a rift in her relationship with the royal family, and it wasn't until after her highly publicized divorce from Charles that she traveled to South Africa to meet with Nelson Mandela, with whom she would establish a foundation to aid AIDS patients. This was in contrast to the Queen's more traditional views on global affairs, which she supposedly tried to dissuade Diana from. Princess Diana's dedication to making a positive impact through her notoriety was one of the several reasons why the public adored her. Under her reign, the common people witnessed and had access to a more humane approach to royal delegacy than in previous reigns. When Diana's pregnancy was announced in November 1981, she was only 12 weeks along in her pregnancy when she had a fall down a flight of stairs at Sandringham. Fortunately, she only suffered minor injuries, but she would later admit that she threw herself down the stairs out of self-loathing and inadequacy, adding to the hellish atmosphere of her unhappy marriage to Charles, who had feelings for another woman. Princess Diana's battle with postpartum depression began in 1982, when she gave birth to Prince William. 2 years later, she welcomed Prince Harry. Rumor has it that during this second pregnancy, Diana and Charles were supposedly at their most vulnerable, although Diana kept Harry's gender a secret from Charles, who was hoping for a girl. Nevertheless, the honeymoon was cut short when serious problems emerged just 5 years following the marriage, problems that would ultimately determine the destiny of Princess Diana, Charles and Camilla, and the hidden royal sister. James Hewitt, who had been the family's riding instructor, began an affair with Diana in 1986. The media even speculated that Hewitt, not Charles, was Harry's father due to their physical similarities. However, Hewitt has vehemently denied this, as his affair with Diana began 2 years after Harry was born. During that same year, Charles was engrossed in his relationship with Camilla. Diana, frustrated by her lack of control and respect within the royal family, confronted Camilla at a birthday celebration in 1989. Diana told the older woman, "I know what's going on, don't treat me like an idiot, I obviously am in the way and it must be hell for both of you." The royal family had already attempted and failed to intervene in 1992 with leaked videotapes of Charles and Diana respectively, which confirmed the rumors of their troubled marriage and hinted at either affair. In the same year, Andrew Morton's book Diana, Her True Story, was published, which led to a media storm surrounding Diana and Charles after it revealed shocking details about Diana's jealousy over her husband's affair. There were concerns raised about Charles's suitability for the throne in the event that he were to divorce Diana and remarry Camilla. This was at a period when the Church maintained stringent rules on divorce, which had its roots in King Edward VIII's abdication. John Major, the Prime Minister, broke the news of Charles and Diana's split later that year. When asked if Charles had been honorable and faithful in his marriage, Charles responded, "Yes, yes," until it became irretrievably broken down, us both having tried. He went on to refer to Camilla as a friend who would be in his life for the foreseeable future, all in an effort to repair his reputation following Camillagate, the explicit and suggestive phone calls between him and Camilla that were leaked in 1993. Charles then hired a documentary film crew to follow him for a year and a half. However, as the film came out, Charles's efforts backfired. After a couple of years of being married, Camilla announced her separation from Andrew Parker Bowles. Diana was asked in her now infamous TV interview with Martin Bashir if Camilla had any role in her decision to divorce Charles. Diana replied, "Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." Their divorce was finalized shortly after the interview. Emerging from the forest, Diana was prepared to begin a charitable career brimming with possibilities and thrills. After Diana's death in the now infamous automobile crash on August 31, 1997, the public began to question, speculate, and assign blame. The nation was in grief after Diana's passing. As a result of her unique ability to relate to a whole generation, she became revered by nearly everyone who recognized her name. After a British newspaper reported that Camilla had met Prince William, Charles utilized the tragedy to justify his connection with Camilla. However, the adulterous nature of their engagement was not acceptable to the Queen or the nation at large. Not surprisingly, she famously did not show up to Charles's 50th birthday bash because Camilla was invited. But things changed with time. The presence of Camilla at a 2000 Highgrove celebration attended by Queen Elizabeth II was a public statement of her support of their relationship. Nevertheless, the general populace felt let down. All eyes were on Charles for his adultery, and the public's undying devotion to Diana and the pain of her death were still very much on their minds. Camilla embodied the stuffy, antiquated practices of the monarchy that the common people had grown to despise. Possibly only Charles and Camilla wished for Camilla to succeed Diana. Camilla and Charles had to put their romance on pause after Diana's untimely death caused a public uproar. The most hated woman in Britain was a new moniker for Camilla, who Diana had called a Rottweiler before. Charles and Camilla moved into Clarence House after an initial fight for the Queen's assent. The royal family released a statement assuring the public that Camilla's bedroom will not be decorated with government dollars in an effort to calm public outcry. They set out on a difficult journey to repair the reputations of both sides. Charles insisted on Camilla no matter what, so they came up with a strategy in a flash. This mostly included keeping Camilla out of the limelight, but it wasn't the only time the royal family lied. From arriving in the same car to a birthday celebration, to holding hands at a sports event to briefly being visible together at a royal ceremony, Camilla and Charles were spotted here and there. The media began to speculate about Charles's remarriage in 2004 when she began to accompany him to almost all of his social events. According to 2004 polls, the majority of people were in favor of the couple's marriage. Camilla continued to face criticism from Diana's legion of fans, who used to social media and newspapers to vent their frustrations, despite her best attempts to repair her image. Just 2 months after Charles and Camilla announced their engagement in 2005, they tied the knot. The title of Duchess of Cornwall was bestowed to Camilla instead of Princess of Wales. The Queen skipped the wedding but still managed to throw a banquet at Windsor Castle afterward. Camilla became Queen Consort upon Charles's accession to the throne on September 8, 2022. "I know you will give my son Charles and his wife Camilla the same support that you have given me when the fullness of time comes," Queen Elizabeth II has said before, adding, "And it is my sincere wish that, when that time comes, Camilla will be known as Queen Consort as she continues her own loyal service." After the Queen passed away later that year, Camilla became Queen Consort, a title she had held for 51 years since she had first met Charles. The public has been kept in the dark about Camilla's hidden daughter and the princess, but now we are prepared to reveal all. William and Harry's half-sister is Laura Parker Bowles. From the time they were little, when their parents were caught up in a very publicized love triangle, The children's interactions were greatly affected and their bond was threatened. William and Harry were estranged from Laura as children because of their parents' tumultuous relationship. Indeed, a royal reporter's 2010 book, Harry and William, claims that William and Laura had a strained relationship. When their homes were in disarray, William and Laura would get into severe arguments over who was to blame. Laura would be incensed because William would accuse Camilla of causing his mother so much pain. Nothing was going to sway Laura. "Your father has devastated my life," she would retort angrily to William. Growing up close to her mother, who endured unending amounts of hatred and condemnation following Diana's death and the news of Charles's adultery, made Laura used to criticism at a young age. Laura knew early on that the public's perception of her was delicate, so she resolved to maintain a low profile in order to save her sense of self-worth. Tom Parker Bowles is Camilla's other kid. He is a successful British culinary writer who has written 7 cookbooks. Tom has also been a guest judge on MasterChef and The F Word, and he has been featured in magazines including Esquire and GQ. Laura has adopted a new strategy in her relatively recent transition from being Camilla's daughter to the king's stepdaughter, in contrast to Tom, who seems to flourish in the limelight. Most of her private life stays out of the spotlight because of her preference. When art curator Laura wed Harry Lopes, now an accountant and a former Calvin Klein model, in 2006, she gave up her mother's surname. Little is known about Laura's life outside of her family's circle of acquaintances in the House of Windsor. We now know that this is probably because she witnessed her mother's downfall at the hands of the public's indignation when she was a youngster. But Camilla has started mentioning her kid more often in recent years when she makes public appearances. Also, every once in a while, Laura, who is an art curator, will make an appearance at an art-related event, which is rather unusual. During the Windsor era, associated persons have followed Laura's lead and distanced themselves from the royal family on several occasions. The present crop of royal couplings has brought back the public's fascination with these individuals, who are the objects of continual observation and intrusions of privacy. The public's fascination has been rekindled, and a new era of media attention has begun surrounding brothers and princes, Harry and William, together with their notorious spouses, Meghan and Kate. This situation is similar to the love triangle that occurred between Diana, Camilla, and Charles. On April 29, 2011, Kate Middleton tied the knot with Prince William. University was where Kate honed her art history skills. She is from Bucklebury, Berkshire. Throughout her early 20s, she worked several retail jobs while also actively pursuing humanitarian projects. Her future husband, William, who appears to be the heir presumptive to the British throne, they met in 2001. While they were courting, the public saw Kate portrayed as an elegant, graceful, and carefree lady. She won over the town with her current vivacity and royal demeanor. The engagement ring that William used to pop the question to Kate in 2010 was originally Diana's, the Princess of Wales. Nearly 300 million people throughout the world watched their wedding, with an extra 26 million in the UK tuning in. Many were looking forward to the occasion since Kate embodied the newest trend in royal society, style, and popular interests. Kate also became the Duchess of Cambridge at the wedding, a title she would retain for 10 years. Nevertheless, in 2022, she was bestowed the title of Princess of Wales upon William by King Charles III. Many people probably saw Diana-like qualities in Kate, and she won their hearts. Nevertheless, Meghan Markle's arrival would supersede her resemblance to the late Princess of Wales. A new chapter in the Windsor family's history begins with Meghan Markle. Upon the revelation of her connection with Prince Harry in 2016, American actress Meghan, who possessed racial mixed heritage, became the target of harsh criticism and abuse. A formal statement denouncing the public for the abuse and harassment Meghan endured from the press was issued by the palace in response to the growing criticism. "This is the price she has to pay," he knows the pundits will say, "and this is all part of the game," according to part of the statement. He is adamantly opposed. Their lives are on the line, and this is no game. The royal family, Prince Philip, Charles, Queen Consort, William and Kate, were all present to celebrate William and Meghan's engagement in November 2017. Rumor has it that Meghan's meeting the Queen went off without a hitch. After the engagement news broke, Meghan's father wasted no time trying to make money off of his daughter. Because he was caught in the act of posing for paparazzi shots, he decided not to attend her wedding. Because of this, Prince Charles escorted Meghan as she entered the chapel. The extent to which Kate and Meghan are friends has been the subject of mixed stories. Reports surfaced a few years later claiming that Meghan had denied the rumor that the women had argued about Princess Charlotte's wedding attire. In the days preceding her wedding, Meghan said that Kate was the one who had made her weep. On the other hand, she said that Kate had admitted guilt and had made a sincere effort at making amends. Meghan had fully entered the sphere of public knowledge at this stage. Furthermore, she was an incredibly divisive character. She seemed to have the affection of about half the people and the loathing of the other half. The racially biased treatment of Meghan by the British media and the following vitriol she endured from equally narrow-minded individuals are two probable causes of this schism. We now know that Meghan and Harry were quietly dealing with a network of individuals who were unfair, prejudiced, and only concerned with maintaining traditions and appearances, despite the fact that the royal family made every effort to keep any internal tensions from the public view. Nearly 29 million people watched the royal wedding between Harry and Meghan in May 2018 from Windsor Castle. Instead of celebrating the union of two souls, the media seized the opportunity to bash Meghan for something as trivial as her attire. It was obvious that Meghan's detractors would use every slip-up to justify their racist and sexist views, from Katy Perry's remarks about the bride's wedding dress to the Twitter tempest caused by an exposed bra strap. The continuous parallels to Kate Middleton are the most critical aspect of Meghan's critique. Some people have been critical of Meghan since her debut, based on the ridiculous assumption that she is not as much like Kate. Her assailants have viciously criticized every facet of Meghan's life, even her taste in clothing and her romantic relationships. Racism and classism are highlighted by the arraignments, and critics struggle to pinpoint a specific reason for their disapproval. Meghan and Harry's son Archie was born in May 2019. The monarchy's inner workings were considerably more evil than previously exposed, though, as Meghan has subsequently shown. Rumor has it that people were talking about how dark Archie may be compared to the rest of the royal family, who have always been about as white as they are now. In the early days of her marriage, Meghan revealed that she just didn't want to be alive anymore and was repeatedly rejected by the Windsor family. The unstoppable tsunami of criticism directed on Meghan and Harry led to their decision to resign from their positions as senior royals in 2020. The public was hit hard by the news, and they didn't learn the truth of why they left until years later, when Meghan spoke out about it in an Oprah interview and Harry published his memoir, Spare, which is a tell-all. Montecito, California is now home to Harry and Meghan. In Spare, Harry was clean about how his worries about his relationship's stability were growing. Harry was there when his mother passed away. Both Diana and Meghan were divisive figures in society because to their contentious personalities. The world knows all about the dramatic ending to Diana's narrative, and Queen Elizabeth II's support of both ladies was at most semi-convincing. Beyond this, the general public has vigorously speculated about who killed Diana, and there is even a notion that suggests the Queen was involved. That is, that she planned the murder to remove Diana from the spotlight and any dangers associated with her affiliation with the royal family. Since the Windsors' disapproval and the circumstances behind Diana's death remain shrouded in secrecy, many have seen Harry and Meghan's departure as a consequence. Now that Harry and Meghan have left the public eye, the only visible successors to the monarchy are Prince William and Princess Kate. The public is fascinated and comforted by William and Kate because they embody the traditional methods of the monarchy and provide a digestible depiction of royal principles. Nevertheless, as of late, Kate Middleton's location has remained a mystery. Because of this, many are wondering how the princess is doing, with some speculating that she is in poor health. One may easily see similarities between the love triangle involving Diana, Camilla, and Charles, and the rivalry between Harry and William by examining the repetitive pattern of relationship turmoil within the British royal family. The members of the House of Windsor, who stand in for Britain's elite, will never enjoy even the most basic kind of personal privacy. The hidden stepsister of Harry and William, Laura Lopes, decided to keep a low profile to avoid the scathing coverage she received in the media. Much obliged for your time. View one of the other videos on your screen while you're here. It is an event you should not miss.